Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you joining our session today. We're delighted to have you here. I see some familiar faces, so thanks for joining. Irina, it's good to see you here. We'll start with introductions and then we'll go from there. My name is Rose, and I am the Entrepreneurship Programs Manager at the African Diaspora Network. We are a nonprofit based in Silicon Valley area, and really delighted to speak with you today about our Accelerating Business Leadership and Entrepreneurship program. Our applications are currently open. We're accepting applications at the moment. And so we hope that from this conversation, you'll be energized and ready to submit your application. But we wanted to put you in touch with some really important people who are part of the ABLE program or have been part of the ABLE program, so that could just get a full view of what the experience is like. I'd like to give the floor to my colleague Faduma so she can introduce herself, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the presentation.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. My name is Faduma Mohammed. Like Rose, I'm with the African Diaspora Network, the Associate Director for Partnerships and Diaspora Engagement based here in Washington, D.C., and looking forward to having an informative session and to share more about ABLE and what the African Diaspora Network does.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Faduma. So let's go ahead and jump into the presentation. So today we're going to be focusing on a few components of the African Diaspora Network, but also delving more deeply in the ABLE program. So Faduma will give a bit of an overview of ADN, who we are, the work that we do, and then I'll go ahead and provide an overview of the ABLE program. And as part of that, we'll then jump into the panel discussion with our lead facilitator, as well as two of our alumni who are here to share their stories.
Well, thank you, Rose. So just to share a little bit more about the African Diaspora Network and who we are, for those who may not be familiar with us, we are a nonprofit based out of the Silicon Valley, and our mission really is we convene Africans from the continent and descendants of Africa, including African Americans, Afro-Caribbeans, Afro-Latinos, and allies as well, to create an ecosystem that nurtures the entrepreneurial spirit, but also mobilizes both intellectual and financial resources to drive the economical transformation that we want to see in the communities that we live in, but also on the continent. And it's through strategic partnerships and innovative programs that drive our mission. But since our founding back in 2010, we have cultivated a dynamic and engaged community of over 15,000 members worldwide, including entrepreneurs such as yourselves, investors, philanthropists, change makers, all committed to driving the sustainable development that we want to see in the communities here, but also beyond and in Africa. We have strategic priorities that have been driving our growth and our progress from 2024 through 2028, and this is what you see on your screen. Capacity building is something key for us, growing the team that drives our programs and initiatives, but also formalizing ADN's network. We have so many public-private partners, diaspora organizations and associations, and we want to continue growing and engaging our community. We also continue driving and implementing transformational programs such as ABLE, all geared towards how we can go beyond remittances. How can we go beyond sending money back home or sending money to our loved ones? And it's really supporting and working in sort of growing that entrepreneurial spirit is part of how we drive going beyond remittances. And our approach, I'll talk a little bit more about our programs, but beyond programs, we convene our community on an annual basis through the African Diaspora Investment Symposium. We actually just had our annual symposium back in May here in DC, and we celebrated our 10th anniversary, but it's really a space to celebrate, convene, connect with our community, to have actionable discussions on how we can go beyond remittances. And that's what we specifically focused on this year. As I mentioned, we're always working towards solidifying public-private partnerships to drive some of the change that we want to see here. Beyond our annual symposium, we have virtual and also in-person impact and innovation forums, just to continue the conversations that come out of the annual investment symposium that we host. And then, as I mentioned, a lot of the programs and initiatives that we run is anchored by going beyond remittances. In addition to ABLE, we have different initiatives and programs that drive our mission and vision. One of them being, we just launched the African Diaspora Innovation Fund at ADIS, at the African Diaspora Investment Symposium. And this is a platform that is a donor advised platform that pulls together donations from investors, philanthropists, but also anyone who's interested in directly supporting entrepreneurs that have graduated from our programs. So we're very excited about this recent launch. We also, earlier this year, towards the end of last year, launched a program in partnership with the Gates Foundation called the African Scientific Community Engagement. And this is really seeing how we can connect African scientists on the continent with diaspora scientists here in the US, and sort of creating that cross-continental collaboration. I've already talked about the African Diaspora Investment Symposium. This is how we convene on an annual basis. We also have the Impact and Innovation Forums going beyond ADIS. How do we bring our community together? We have 2 accelerator programs on the continent. That's Builders of Africa's Future and Start Your Social Enterprise. Similar to ABLE, it supports entrepreneurs on the continent that need that boost and training and access to capital, access to mentorship to really drive their business growth. And then lastly, we'll be talking more about that. One of our last program is the Accelerating Business Leadership and Entrepreneurship. And I'll just pass it over to Rose to give an overview about what ABLE is all about.
Thank you so much, Faduma. And so now that you've heard a bit about ADN, we encourage you to visit us on our website. I've put it in the chat, and to explore our various programs and initiatives and ways that you could get involved. And so today we're talking about the Accelerating Business Leadership and Entrepreneurship program that we call ABLE. And it's an accelerator program that's designed to support impact-driven businesses in the US that address critical community needs and advance innovative solutions. The program is especially committed to enabling entrepreneurs who are in the African diaspora, both historical and contemporary, by providing investor readiness training, mentorship, access to capital, and meaningful connections to Africa and global industry leaders. So far, since launching the program, in 2021, we have been privileged to support 55 founders who are part of our network. As part of the program, you will have an opportunity to engage with Hatim and various other facilitators who are industry experts and are ready to support you. And so this is not the exact curriculum in the sense that this is more of a skeleton, but these are some of the topics that we will be focusing on. So we obviously will be focusing on pitch and persuasion, given that at the end of the experience, you'll have an opportunity to pitch in person, live in Silicon Valley to a community of investors, as well as those that are stakeholders that are part of the ADN network. And so we actually, and I'll share this now so you can prepare yourself, but as part of the interview process, you will be expected to provide a 3-minute pitch. And so please get that ready because we would love to hear, about your ventures ahead of time so that we can prepare and tailor the curriculum and the experience based on your unique needs as an entrepreneur, as well as for your business. We also will focus on value proposition, go-to-market strategies, and then really focus heavily on finance and funding, and leading teams and internal dynamics. And then lastly, we have a component that focuses on sort of the legal considerations, where we offer a law clinic and provide pro bono consulting services with a law firm to answer any questions that you might have. And so you'll have about a 20-30 minute session with them and put your questions and concerns before them so that they can provide some input and offer some guidance as best as they can. All right, in terms of the application timeline, the application has launched as we shared, and the deadline is July 11th. And so really encouraging you all, if this is something that is um, just interesting to you, right? Maybe you're not even 100% sure that you want to join the program, or you don't know if you have availability. I encourage you to apply, because it's better to apply and to at least have been accepted to the program than to not apply and to miss out on the opportunity. And so strongly, strongly recommend that everyone submit their application. We'll have interviews about mid to early August, with the cohort being announced late August, and program kicking off September 8th. And so between September 8th and October 23rd and 24th, you can expect weekly convenings where you are engaging with our various facilitators on the number of topics that I just shared, and really gaining valuable insight and resources to help drive growth and sustainability within your ventures. Finally, we will meet in person for pitch day and graduation. And this is a live in-person session that really brings together a wonderful community of investors, as well as those within the ADN network. And our whole goal is that you'll find alignment and be able to establish new partnerships with those that attend. And so, if you have folks that you want to come and support you, we will have an open invitation and we'll make sure to share that with you. But this event will be hybrid. And so you as a founder will need to be in person, but guests can certainly join in person as well as virtually. All right, in terms of the program benefits, there are a number of them. And so as I shared, the opportunity to pitch your venture, right? This gives you a chance to really expand your network and to expand your partnership opportunities. This is a fully paid leadership and entrepreneurship training. We are not asking for equity as you're joining the program. And so this is fully paid. You can expect expert mentoring, where each entrepreneur will be paired and matched with a mentor based on your feedback to us in terms of what you need from a mentor. You'll gain opportunities for media features, as well as become a part of ADN's thriving network of entrepreneurs. And then you also have access to ADN's network, our resources, infrastructure, expertise, and a complimentary registration ticket to our upcoming Addis 2026. And finally, one that we're very excited to have just announced is that all entrepreneurs that successfully complete the program will be eligible to receive a financial reward. And so that is a financial award. And so that's also a benefit that you can expect. You can learn more about this and the other benefits on our website. For eligibility requirements, these are the preliminary or basic requirements that we are asking of you: that you're a founder or executive of a scalable for-profit startup, that you are a diasporan entrepreneur that's leading or co-leading the venture, that the company is early stage and revenue generating, headquartered in the US, and has been in operation for at least 6 months, and that there is a proven product market fit, market traction, that you have a strong value proposition, and finally, you're driving impact by leveraging technology and innovative solutions. For the selection criteria, we have several. And so these are just a few that I wanted to highlight to you, as I'd mentioned earlier, in terms of demonstrating early traction and evidence in growing usage, revenue, or other metrics. That there is sort of the potential for financial sustainability, investment and scalability, that you demonstrate quantifiable impact and market research. We are sector agnostic, and so we welcome all industries. And certainly, there are other considerations in terms of gender representation, geographic distribution, and cross-sector diversity. We do require that entrepreneurs are able to dedicate their time fully to this program. And so we know that as an entrepreneur, you're running a business, you're putting out multiple fires on a day and week by week basis. But what we're asking is that that you're able to dedicate your time and attention to the program so that you can get the most out of it. All right, so we'll talk briefly about the application and then jump into what I know you all are actually here for, which is to hear from Hatim, from Lola, and from Sheun. But for the application, we use a platform called SurveyMonkey Apply. You'll go on there, see that the application is currently open. Select apply, and then from there can go ahead and begin your application. What is very important here that I'd like to highlight is that you have an opportunity to save your application and to come back to it, but it is very important that you hit submit when you are ready to submit. There are so many people from year to year, I couldn't tell you, across all of our programs who leave their applications unsubmitted, right? And I will tell you that you are missing out on an opportunity if you don't even give yourself the chance to submit your application. Don't say no to yourself. Let us say no to you, right? Or yes, right? It could be a yes. But give yourself the opportunity and hit submit so that we can make sure that we have your application and that we can, actually go through the review process and invite you back for an interview and all of that. And so please, please, please hit submit. The way that you verify that your application has been submitted is that you will receive an email notification confirming that your application has been submitted. If you don't receive the confirmation, then it means that we have not received it. I'm doing my best on a week-to-week basis to send emails to everyone whose application is in progress, meaning they started, but they haven't hit submit. And I'll continue to do that until the time comes for the application to close on the 11th. But I just please ask that if you're interested in the program and want to move forward with it, that you hit submit and give us an opportunity to at least look and review your application. All right, now we are going to go ahead and jump into the conversation with our panel. And so we have, as I'd mentioned, Hatim, who's the executive in residence at ADN and the lead facilitator for ABLE, he's currently in Morocco dealing with very extreme heat weather, but thanks for joining us, Hatim. And then we have Dr. Lola Omashore and then Sheun Phillips, who are also alumni of the program. And so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so that we can all get on the screen and have an engaging conversation. We'll go ahead and have each of you introduce yourselves. And then from there, we will, I have a few questions to ask of you, and then we can go ahead and jump in. And then for, folks on the call, this is really your opportunity to ask questions. We wanted to give you this chance to be able to engage directly with Hatim, Sheun, and Lola. So please take full advantage of it. But yes, please, Hatim, if you could get us started, greatly appreciate it.
Okay, so I'll be brief. I'll introduce myself briefly, and I'm sure you'll want to hear from Lola and Shun more than me because they've gone through the program. I think their perspective is probably more interesting for you guys than mine. But very briefly, I'm based in the Bay Area in Palo Alto. I've been there for about 20 years. As Rose mentioned, I'm North African, I'm Moroccan, and I do come frequently to Morocco for a project. And we have a heat wave, but it's bearable. It could be, I won't complain. So very nice to meet you all. I've been in the Bay Area, as I mentioned, for now over a quarter century. And basically, I've been doing these programs with various different groups and in terms of helping expose great opportunities like yours to other stakeholders, whether it is investors, strategics, partners, and this is, I think the ultimate goal for the program is, we're going to give you some insight. Again, some of the things you probably know already, but the idea is not only to give you some great insight and help you position yourself, but also grow your network. Grow your network with the speakers, and some of the speakers we're bringing are stakeholders in the market. Some of them are VCs, some of them are established law firms, and the way I look at it is that you're going to get the insight, and we'll try to make these as interactive as possible for you to get as much from those workshops as possible, but also you'll be gaining the network. So the idea is at the end of the program, the 6 weeks program, you will not only hopefully be able to refine your story, your positioning, but also gain a large network that's going to help you fundraise, find partners, and scale your business, hopefully. So that's the ultimate goal. And again, happy to take questions whenever we are there.
Thank you so much, Hatim. So next on my screen is Shane Phillips. If you could please just give an introduction of yourself, and then we'll move on and introduce Lola.
Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Sean Phillips, part of Able 24. So I am the founder and executive director for STEMatics, and what we do is we connect math and science to what kids are learning in elementary school in particular. So think about ways that they can get into the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math in a very fun manner. Currently, I'm based in Los Angeles, California, and just really excited to share my experience with Able. That was great for me and for the other entrepreneurs that I was able to connect with.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Omonye, I see you in the chat. Thank you for joining us. All right, next I'd like for Lola to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Good afternoon. As Rose said earlier, my name is Lola Mishre. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, and my background is actually in sports medicine. So I started my career working with Division I athletes and traveling the country with them as part of their medical team. And that eventually led me to want to create that kind of healthcare on-demand model for more of the general population. And over the next 10 years, once I saw the different needs of different age groups, I saw that the problem was central, meaning that clinics, brick and mortar clinics, were limiting access to people who needed it the most because our bodies are not considered elite, like elite athletes. And so with their motive, my goal is to scale access to physical therapy for all. So we build clinics that are on wheels, and then we connect with health enterprises so that we can deliver those clinics where communities live, work, and play. I'm part of ABLE's 2023 program, and honestly, ABLE was the launching pad for everything that I've done to date. So I can't wait to share it with everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much. So this question is for Shaun and Lola. So what was the most satisfying aspect of the ABLE program experience for you? And either of you can jump in.
Yeah, I don't mind starting. So for me, I a lot of times when you're doing programs and entrepreneurship programs and different aspects of things, I think the most satisfying aspect was the intentional programming. Coming into the ABLE program, didn't have great, I just shouldn't say great expectations, but I was just like, okay, it's another program. Let me meet some other entrepreneurs. Let me see where it goes. But then after session 1, 2, and 3, I started to realize that, it spent a lot of time in curating such a great experience for us entrepreneurs. And just from some tangible examples is, I know Rose mentioned a little bit of it, but, connecting with the legal team, and, I had a lot of questions around business structure and employee classifications. And then they also got me to really think about protecting my IP, because we create a lot of curriculum, and just being able to think in a growth scale what we can do and how we can really structure ourselves for true success in the future. Another thing that was great for us is being able to take time, right? So as entrepreneurs and founders, we're always head down, making it work, very busy, but to be able to really take time, strategize, and strategically see what we should be doing next. I think this program really, forces us to really put the time aside, take time to see the direction we want to take our company. So I think for me, as I reflect back, those are some of the most satisfying aspects of the program.
Thank you so much, Shane. And you make a very good point. It's easy to get tunnel visioned, right? And constantly solving problems and being reactive. But in this case, you get a chance to really pause, take a step back and look sort of at the larger goal, right? And strategy for yourself and your venture. So I really appreciate that input. Lola, for you?
Yeah, since doing Able's program, I've probably done about 20 other accelerators, and Able is the only program that brought us to Silicon Valley. And I find that very interesting because you're working with all these other accelerators that are convincing you that they're going to connect you with investors and teach you how to pitch. And statistics wise, majority of deals are being done in Silicon Valley, followed by New York. And then everyone trails off to less than 10% of where investments are being done. So the simple act of bringing you to where deals are being made, we can't even talk about tables if there's no table to be had. And so Able being emotionally sensitive enough to understand that if we're not where deals are being made, everything else really is just theoretical. It's not practical, can't be applied. And coming in person, being forced to pitch in front of investors, honestly, I would say that that kind of set the tone for the rest of my startup journey. Prior to doing Able, I was frightened by public speaking. I hated public speaking. I dreaded it. And I still did. I had like a panic attack right before we did our pitch. And the program leader at that time, her name was Brett, she came outside with me, did breathing techniques and said, "You are going to kill this." And from that day to now, I've won 14 pitch competitions, generated $300,000 in funding. And that was all in a year and a half from what Able was able to instill in me.
That's wonderful. Congratulations. And yes, it's amazing that you as as a founder that you could be in the world solving some of the most pressing problems, but something like public speaking can completely take you off course, right? And so I appreciate that example and giving people just insight into your experience and helping us sort of see the full view of the support that's provided, right? If it's coming outside with you and holding your hand and helping you through breathing problems, we'll do that, right? But we also want to make sure that we put you in touch with the right people and the right resources. And so I greatly appreciate that insight. If you could both also speak to, how the ABLE program, you've already started talking about this, but how the ABLE program has shaped and impacted your entrepreneurial journey. If there's anything else that you'd like to add to what you've already shared, I greatly appreciate it. And Lola, we can start with you. And again, it can focus on ABLE, but it can also be, ADN, right, as an organization, and how both have been able to shape and impact your journey.
Yeah, I didn't know the art of storytelling prior to joining Able. So they gave us about 3 hours with a person who helped us refine our pitch, but it wasn't so much so about a pitch. I think a lot of times when you're a startup, you may get into the habit of talking very quick and you think that as long as you get it over with, like check mark, but if no one asks questions, it means that they were not listening. So I learned the art of storytelling with the two mentors that they paired us up with. And from there, we had like a group session where we all had to show our pitches and they tore mine down, like my classmates. And initially I was like, oh man, this is BS, whatever. And I honestly think I needed that tear down because so much of the feedback that they gave me is still resonating with me today. So it's like all those little pieces that while you're in it, you're not sure about the value, but then when you're far removed from it, you see that your foundation is still pulling from that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And that peer-to-peer is so critical. And so, joining a program like ABLE really allows you to realize that there are other people you can lean on, right? Other founders who are sympathetic, empathetic to your experience, know exactly what you're going through, and can offer support in a way that maybe a mentor may not be able to. And so I really appreciate that insight there. Shaylin?
Yeah, I'm gonna expand on the peer-to-peer feedback, because I remember in doing the pitch in the beginning, even before we got to Silicon Valley, there was a sense of, hey, let's practice your pitch in front of your classmates. And I remember um, my pitch was not ready, and the class was nice, but you could tell they were just like, hey, you gotta work on this a little more. But I think the beauty of that is the fact that when you're creating that pitch deck, right, it really puts you in the position of, thinking about your metrics, thinking about your story, thinking about not only why you started the company, but the progression that it's made. And really enjoyed that time in Silicon Valley. But a lot of times when you finish the program too, it's a sense of, all right, I'm done with the program. What comes next? What am I going to do? And during the reflection part and thinking about, this panel, a lot has happened since, right? From a sense of after the ABLE program and through the, even the financial support, but then also talking to some of the leaders there, hired another person full time, went back and, from that legal conversation, updated the employee handbook, right? When it comes to HR and being a founder, especially as you're growing, because right now we have 30 people on our team, 6 of us are full-time, 24 part-time, but being able to have a strong employee handbook that not only that they can refer to, but that can protect us as a company, right? So it got us thinking about that and send that up in a strong way. And then on the sense of just being inspired, right? Inspiration and being rejuvenated and ready to take on the next challenge, but then having a network that you're tapping into and a way to get that feedback, the constructive feedback to get you to the next level has also been very beneficial in a lot of ways. So I think that, in just a short amount of time, because we finished our program, I think it was October 2024. So it hasn't been a full year and more to come. So a lot of great things have come from it thus far.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's that's very insightful. And I don't think that we can stress enough the importance of just taking a pause, right? And really taking a step back and looking at your operations, right? Looking closely at just how you're managing your business to ensure that you're doing it as efficiently as possible. And so I appreciate hearing that ABLE gave you that pause, Shaylin. And so wanted to ask Hatim if you could really just share what people can expect. I think you started giving people a bit of a glimpse of what the program experience is like, but I'd love to hear for you to share a bit more with our attendees, and then what advice you would give someone who is interested in participating in this year's program.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I think Lola and Sean did a great job at really highlighting some of the things that we feel is important, things that we feel are important in terms of the program. So I like the comment about the pause. The idea is sometimes, like you said, Rose, you have that tunnel view, you're buried in your business, which is normal, which is what you're doing to build the business. But having these other perspectives from people and again, they're not all right, but the every workshop you'll be in, the idea is to be engaging with people, whether it is the people giving the workshop or your peers, and after the program, obviously having a strong alum group to be able to give you other perspective that can potentially enhance your business. So the idea, there is the insight from the workshop, which is important. And again, we don't claim that, we will give you all the information you are not aware of. Some of the things you're probably already aware of. But ultimately, the idea is to grow your network. And I think, like Lola said, to do it also in the Silicon Valley. the Silicon Valley is not the only region in the US that has funding, but it's an important one. So having traction and visibility in this ecosystem is very important. And again, the idea with this program is to do it in a friendly manner. So, every person that you'll engage with will have, for example, in the positioning one, we're going to have a VC come in and who's going to basically challenge you on your positioning on exact, so that and the idea there is not to destroy your business but to basically strengthen it, and saying maybe if we pivot a little and position this way, just basically that kind of changes. So the idea is to have these people, and hopefully all the conversation will be a very very engaging conversation where we look at your specific cases whenever possible. Obviously the cohort is sometimes larger, so it's not always feasible to go case by case. But like Rose said, what we want is at the beginning of the program, have you do this 3-minute pitch. And the idea is really for you to be able to convince us why what you're doing is unique, why an investor in the Bay Area is going to say, Sean or Lola, I want to invest in your business because you really have a unique opportunity. And keep refining that story through the workshop, so that when you're pitching at the end, you have a rock solid story. And again, for the program, remember there's the insights, but there's also the network. So we invite you, if you are accepted into the program, to grow and be very opportunistic in every workshop you're in, every person that you're engaged with, that you start that relationship, because your network is your net worth. I mean, I'm being cheesy because it's a very common saying, but I think it's very important to do that. So again, obviously, all of you here have lots of choices of incubator, accelerator programs. We understand that, and we don't want to compete with anyone else, but we hopefully want to give you something extra to be able to move forward.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Hatim. So we've heard a lot of really wonderful insight and advice. I just wanted to give everyone an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have. You can either share it in the chat, or you can come on video, and we'd like to hear from you directly. Are there any questions for our panel? This is your one chance before you submit your application.
I'm Nadine Sagesse. I am located in Hyattsville, Maryland, and I am the founder of Sage Sanctuary Wellness. So my two questions are, one, can you share an example of an able founder who redefined their business model during the program, and what made that pivot so powerful?
Yes, thank you so much for joining. And Hyattsville is not too far from me, and so it's great to hear that we have someone who's like local. That's an excellent question. So I know of one founder who recently in the past year pivoted his business, and so his name is Serge, and he graduated from our 2023 program. And in 2024, made a decision to pivot the program, or to pivot his venture. My apologies. And so he recently shared an update, and I'm going to pull that up because I wanted to just share with you directly. But he shared that essentially what they've decided to do is to pivot his business model to focusing on offering a platform that is AI powered, a financial co-pilot for the creator economy, and shared that while the purpose of the pivot was due to some market research that they decided to do. I haven't spoken to him directly as to how learnings from the program impacted this decision in particular, but I would assume that the encouragement to to continuously sort of keep a pulse out in the marketplace to look at his traction in the market and to determine where there may be new opportunities, which are all components that you'll find in our curriculum, lended to his decision in making that change. And so that is one example that we recently heard of. And so far, since the launch, he's been able to meet significant milestones. He's mentioned that it's already revenue generating in just a month and a half, that they've been able to launch their MVP. And so that's one particular example. And Eugene, if you're interested, I'd love to connect you with Serge directly, so that he can tell you a bit more on sort of the genesis for the change and how Able supported him in making that decision. But I see, Shane, that your hand is raised.
Yeah, and something I'll add, it hasn't made me truly pivot all the way, but it's really given me an idea that I continue to think about and nurture. During the pitch competition, one of the questions that came to me was, have you thought about creating curriculum and how you can spread this across school districts? Because we're very service-based oriented. We have 30 programs at 30 different schools. And one of the things that we as a team are always thinking about is, how do we scale this in mass? And that question has now shaped on how we design our curriculum in a way where, we're not ready to package it fully right now. However, we're designing it in a way that we can be able to package it in the future. And that question continues to resonate. And I've actually connected with the person from the VC about, how the question was really impactful in ways that I could think about it. So a very important revenue stream and vertical that we are continuously looking to nourish.
Lola, I see your hand is raised as well.
Yeah, I would say my business model also transitioned. The go-to-market strategy initially was direct to consumer. And again, it's all about scalability when you're talking to VCs and how do you de-risk a situation. So during the program, I switched from a direct to consumer to a B2B2C. And that's where we're partnering with enterprises who already have our end users on site. And so customer acquisition is we're paying zero for it because we're using our customers, which are the health systems, to get us our end users. And to date, we have partners that include Mount Sinai Hospital, American Heart Association, and now Northeastern University. And when you have names that back your startup, it opens doors that otherwise would be really hard to open, especially if you are service oriented, and then also if you are in health and wellness.
Okay, thank you both so much. We have another question. This is from MT Legal Research and Consultancy. What components of the application are seriously important to be successful? And so I'll begin. So all the components that we shared are important, right? We want to know, who you are, what you've done, and if there's potential for scalability, right? And so those are the really critical pieces that we're looking at. I encourage you to visit our website where we have expanded a bit more on our selection criteria to just to give you more insight on what it is that we're looking for. But all of those components are very critical. And the review process is a multi-stage process. So it's not just we don't just have one review. We have multiple people who are looking at this from different lenses. And so just something for you to keep in mind. If anyone else wants to, Hatim, I'm not sure if you want to include anything else.
No, I think you've covered it all, Rose. Thank you.
Awesome. So would the weekly convenings be during the day or the evenings? I'll let Hatim share more on this.
Yeah, so I mean, we're still looking at the way we structure it. Some of the feedback that we got from previous alums, from previous cohorts, is obviously because this is a virtual, program. We want to be mindful of the attention span of our cohort. So we are still looking at the timing, but it'll probably be a morning, Pacific time, which would be midday East Coast, because obviously we'll have companies from all over the US, and we're going to be obviously trying to focus on half a day a week. Again, like Rose mentioned earlier, we know you guys are running businesses, and the idea is not, to overwhelm you, but we want to basically have enough time to be able to not only give the information, but for you to engage as much as possible with our speakers. So again, the way we're looking, so we're kind of restructuring it a little bit, but we're looking at 2 sessions of about 2 hours every week. So with a break in between, so you guys can have time to take a break, and the idea there also is there's a content component, but there's also a component which is to be very engaged with the speakers and ask questions that are very pertinent to your situation, so that, again, I think it'll be much more impactful if we can talk about specific scenarios that, the cohort companies are facing. But again, hopefully that's the long answer to your question, but we're thinking about half a day a week. That's the time commitment. And most likely, again, we haven't decided yet, we're discussing it internally, probably Friday, which is probably the day where, in theory, you have things that are kind of dying down. It's closer to the weekend, and you probably have less on your plate than during the week. Rose, I don't know if you want to add anything there.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. Yeah. And as we get closer to the interview, right, like we'll be able to share more specifics. And so I think what our team just shared is absolutely fantastic. Any other questions? We have a few more minutes before we end the session. But thank you all so much for your engagement and for your comments.
I have a question.
Yes.
I should raise my hand. My name is Dr. Essie Elliott. I'm a STEM professor in international business at the University of Texas at Rio Grande Valley. I'm always so busy, although I have an LLC and not-for-profit to do good things for STEM, young people in STEM relating to Africa. I don't get the time, and I won't get the time to implement my idea, which was very successful. When I was in Massachusetts, we collaborated with the United Nations. We did something wonderful, and it's been left to the university now. It was called the Young Innovators Program, which I have registered the LLC and the non-for-profit for. I'd like to scale it up and do more of it. I'm interested in collaborations, so if anybody's interested in the collaboration, I have an LLC, and we can go from there.
Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, and I saw that you wanted to connect with Shane, so I think that's
Yeah, sure.
that's
a
a
very
natural, natural
That's a natural connection,
Yeah,
of course.
absolutely. Yeah, and it's we haven't necessarily seen this for the ABLE program but for our Builders of Africa's Future, we actually have 2 entrepreneurs that came together. I think it was last year. Sorry, my date, my months and years are very blurred, but they came together and formed a new education platform in Uganda, right? And so there is always an opportunity for collaboration and to be able to find, even co-founders, right? As you grow and build your venture. And so certainly reach out to Shane, but also know that when you join the ABLE program, that you become a part of this really wonderful network of entrepreneurs, not just across ABLE, but also our other 2 accelerated programs. And there's just a wealth of resources and partnerships that can flourish from there. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. Yeah.
Thank you so much, too. Thank you.
I have one last question.
Yes.
So I'd love to hear, based upon the perspective of a mentor and a mentee, what's one overlooked factor that truly distinguished founders who thrive in the program from those who didn't maximize it?
That's a great question. I will actually ask everyone to answer this, because I think you all come from this from a very different perspective. So it's if it's okay for everyone just to chime in.
I think that maybe the Sean and Lola should be the first to answer because they you know they've experienced it with their colleagues in the program.
This program has like a very unique angle in that it's for people who are from the African diaspora. So I have never been in a cohort with so many West Africans before. And that was amazing because you've got a cultural understanding of rigor and being competitive, but it's only to push yourself further that maybe other cultures may not inherently understand. I would say we have kept in touch over the last 2 years. We've done a good job of keeping that relationship, but I have seen in other accelerators, I can't say it here, where people do it for 6 weeks, they collect the money, and then you're never to hear from them again. And I don't understand how that works because any deal I've gotten has been from a warm introduction from my mentor network. I would not be here right now. I wouldn't be generating revenue if someone didn't say, hey, take a call with her. So I'm not really sure why people go into these programs, they take money and they're like, all right, check and done, because the network is where your startup becomes legitimate. That's actually how you become a business.
Yeah, that's really wonderful, Lola. Shun?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I mean, so with the program, I don't know if they're doing it this year, but there's like a mentor that they do pair you with, and um, you know, if I rank, you know, my mentor and I we connected, but you know, it wasn't like the top thing that I got from the program, to be very transparent. When you ask the question on what does it take to be successful in a program like this or any program that you do, at the end of the day, whatever you invest in is what you're gonna get out, right? So I mean, when it comes to the sessions, they're virtual sessions, right? Are you paying attention? Are you taking the material and following up with some of the notes that you've taken, right? As you connect with, I gave you an example with legal earlier. Are you preparing and deciding what type of questions do you want to ask legal? Like they're putting a law firm in front of you. Are you really taking a step back and saying, all right, what are some things that I've always wanted to ask legal? And as they give you the resources, how are you following through with what you've been given? So programs like this, there were a lot of great presenters that they put in front of us. Great to the point where one of the presenters, I actually hired, paid, and put them in front of my team to do a training session. One of the presenters I've actually hired as a coach, right? So I mean, a lot of great connections and resources that are put in front of us. And to be successful that's half the battle, right? Abel curates it very well, but what are you doing to take that into the next level and the follow through? As entrepreneurs and founders, at the end of the day, all the things we do, it's all about execution, right? So they can put the right people in front of you, but how do you execute at the end of the day? And that's where I believe great success comes from a program like this or any program that you're doing.
That's wonderful.
I completely agree. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a great answer, and I think it's the straightforward answer is be very opportunistic. You know, what I was mentioning earlier, Sean did a great job at mentioning again, is asking question. Always when you are into session, try to in your head think how does this relate to my business, and then when you find out, then say, hey, what questions am I going to be able to ask? And remember, these people become warm connections to you, and then you have to understand or try to think who could they connect me to. Like they won't do the work for you, but like Sean said, always be opportunistic and proactive in like how much how can I get more out of this. So yeah, again, it sounds like a very basic answer, but the other programs I've been involved with, that's what it took. The people who were most involved, very engaged. And again, don't always expect people to engage back because there are people who are busy, but you have to try. You have to be, and most of these people sometimes take a while to get back to you, not because they have an issue with you, but because they probably get 100 emails. But you have to be persistent. And yeah, I think that's the very basic answer. The more engaged you are in the program, the more you get out of it.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. That is the one advice I give everyone who is considering the program, right? You get out what you put in. So, all right. So we're at time. If you have any additional questions, you can feel free and send them to me, and I'm happy to share with our panel, and then they can send back their responses. But really encouraging you all to go to the website and begin your application and to make sure that you submit it. During this conversation, it already looks like there's a lot of activity going on through the application, so really delighted to see that. But we're really privileged to have you all here, and just look forward to receiving your application. All right, until next time. Have a great day.
Thank you so
Take care.
much.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Nice meeting everyone.